Hi, welcome to all. This video content discusses on the fundamentals of cloud computing, and the lecture is being prepared by me, K. Nimala, Department of Information Technology, SRM Institute of Science and Technology. And the area of specialization is data analytics and data science. The first unit of this particular subject discusses on the introduction of cloud computing, its basic concepts and terminology. Now, before going to what a cloud is nothing but it's going to be the usage of internet to store, manage, and process data rather than using a local computer. That is, cloud computing normally discusses on the network of remote servers. So this cloud computing involves various devices working on internet. So knowing the need for cloud computing is essential at this particular moment. So cloud computing, why do we go for cloud computing these days? It is much a cheaper solution where we can process data, we can compute data, and even the maintenance cost is also less. So it has attracted a bigger business nowadays. And this cloud computing uses less hardware and software demands from the user side. And to run a cloud computing system, we do require a interface, a software that is very much simpler as a web browser. And we need to have a cloud network setup such that everything works on fine. So, to understand the data or cloud computing concepts, we need to understand the introduction of how a networking exactly happens and how the data communication takes place. And this particular video content for the unit 1 discusses on cloud computing, the origin of cloud computing, some basic concepts and terminologies involved, goals and benefits, risks and challenges, roles and boundaries, cloud characteristics, and cloud delivery models and deployment models. So, for understanding cloud computing, we need to understand the basics of data networks and how the communication exists between the data networks. So, knowing what the data networks are nothing but a network that interacts on the basis of data. So this data networks, various data networks do exist, and there are some three major problems that occurs in a data network. So number one is how to avoid duplication of equipment and resources. Number two is how to communicate efficiently between the devices in a network. And number three is how to set up and manage a network. So when you are understanding what a data network is, we need to understand the history of how this network uh, travels. So in 1980s, we had a standalone computers that shared files to connect among the computers. This was referred to as a point-to-point or a dial-up communication. The next version or the next version of data networks are a central point of communication dial-up connection. So they have a very direct or a little communications among the devices, and the availability was limited to only those who knew about the location of the data network. And number three is one modem per connection is needed. And later on, from 1960s to 1990s, we had this WAN, wide area network, which is used for military and scientific reason. And later on in 1990s, WAN eventually led to internet. So we have internet. We need to understand what are the topologies that exist among the network. See, network topology generally means the way in which the devices are connected. See, the devices could be computers, printers, and other devices. The fashion or the layout of the devices connected, you normally tell it as a topology. Okay, so topology normally means the fashion or the layout of the devices. So a network topology, it describes the layout of the wire and the devices as well as the paths used by data transmission. So when we look at the various styles of fashions involved among the devices in a network, there are around 5 topologies. Number one are bus topology. Number two is ring topology. Number three is star topology. Number four is extended star topology. And number five is mesh topology. So each and every topologies are arranged in a different fashion. See, when we take about the bus topologies, all the devices are connected to a single bus. In a ring topologies, all the devices are connected in a round or a circular fashion, and each and every devices uh, are connected in a circular fashion. And in star topologies, all the other devices are connected to a single point of devices. And in extended star topologies, each and every vertex of the star is again connected to one or more devices. And in mesh topology, each and every devices in a network are connected to various other devices. So based on the network topologies, we have different scenarios and applications that could be deployed. So when we once we are understanding about the network topologies, we need to understand about the protocols involved for networking of data. So when you look at the networking protocol, the standard protocol is nothing but the OSI layers. There are around 7 OSI layers. When we discuss mainly on the networking protocols, we have to discuss about the transmission control internet protocol, that is TCP/IP. So this TCP/IP has got around 5 layers within it. One is the application layer, next is the transport layer, third is the network layer, fourth is a data link layer, and fifth is a physical layer. So each and every layers in this TCP/IP has got a set of or a suite of protocols within it. The suite of protocols are nothing but TFTP, FTP, that is file transfer protocol. We have NFS protocol. We have SMTP exclusively for email. For remote login, we have Telnet, RLogin, and for network management, we have this SNMP. And for name management, we have this DNS. So this protocols are do exist as a bundle of protocols within it, such that they serve the purpose of communication of data between the devices in a network. So when you look at this OSI layer, that is Open Standard Interface layer, it's normally used to connect two devices in a network. And it mainly involves with breaking up the network communication into smaller, more manageable parts. It standardizes network components to allow multiple vendor development and support, and it also allows different types of network hardware and software to communicate with each other. It prevents changes in one layer from affecting other layer. It divides network communication into smaller parts to make learning it easier to understand. So this OSI layers, there are around 7 layers in this particular uh, OSI layers, and all these 7 are involved in the communication that exists between data, between between devices and a network. So when you look at the application of this data networks are mainly used for email, for searching some kind of a data in a website, for e-commerce, for news groups, for internet telephony, that is voice over IP, for video conferencing, for chat groups, for instant messengers, and for internet radio. So till now the we have discussed about the brief of data networks, the communication, the protocols, the topologies, and the applications of data networks. Now we'll move on to what a cloud is. See, cloud is nothing but majority of the people, they respond it as an actual cloud or a sky or something related to weather. So this is the understanding of any layman about a cloud. But as a software professional, cloud is nothing but it is a network of remote servers, including devices. In other words, you can tell that cloud is nothing but the usage of internet to store, manage, and process data rather than using a local computer or a server. So knowing about a cloud and cloud computing, we need to understand about the benefits of cloud computing. See, if we move on to cloud computing, we will have a lower infrastructure, and the cost is also less for the user. We have an improved performance, fewer maintenance issues, instant software updates, improved compatibility between operating systems, backup and recovery, performance and scalability is higher, increased storage capacity, and increased data safety. So, putting the definition of cloud computing, it is a specialized form of distributed computing that introduces utilization models for remotely provisioning scalable and measured resources. So, cloud computing is nothing but a distributed computing technology that has got various models within it for remotely accessing the resources. So, knowing about cloud computing, we can define cloud as a distinct and remote IT environment designed for the purpose of remotely provisioning scalable and measured resources. So, in specific, we normally define cloud as an IT remote environment designed for remotely accessing the resources. Okay, I hope this introduction or this definition of cloud and cloud computing would be understood by the students. Thank you. We'll meet in the next topic.